I'm Jay LaPlante. I'm Artistic Director of Doc NYC, and please join me in thanking the wonderful people who made this beautiful film. Director Matthew Heineman, producer Lauren Domino, and producer Joedan Okun. Please join us. So wonderful to have you with us. I've got a couple of questions for our film team here, and then we'd love to open it up to you and have a conversation. But my first question is for you, Matt. This is a film that all your work has had tremendous emotional impact for me. But when I was watching this film, it just felt like the most tender and heartfelt thing that I'd ever seen you make. And I was wondering if there was a point where it felt different to you as well while you were making it, or maybe not, or did that ever cross your heart while you were making it?
First of all, thank you all for coming and thank you for having us here. I think to some degree, but I feel like this is very much in line with the films I've made, just a completely different sort of pond that we all dove into. I've always tried to make very character-driven, intimate verite films, of which I consider this as well. But yeah, of course, it's a different energy, I think, than some of my other films, and I think both while shooting and especially in the edit room, we really sort of discovered the idea that this is a love story at its core, and it's about two amazing, fascinating, beautiful humans meandering their way through hardship, and using art as a way to get through it all. And so, yeah, and I think I made a couple heavy films the past couple years, and it's been, so I think in some ways it was sort of what I needed as well personally.
Okay, and at what point did it cross your mind that this was time to pick up a camera and make a film? I know Jon's someone you worked with and is a friend of yours, and at what point did that cross your mind that it was this was the next film that the next story you wanted to tell?
So we made this documentary, First Wave, about COVID here in New York, and Jon did the score, co-wrote the score for the film. And we were having dinner one night, and he was sort of telling me about American Symphony and his plans for American Symphony, and we both sort of turned to each other and said, this is probably something we should document. At that point, it was a much different conception. It was sort of going to be like a road trip film about him sort of reconnecting with musicians and regions and trying to sort of gain musical influences to help build this American Symphony. But life interrupted, and he got nominated for 11 Grammys. She got re-diagnosed with cancer, and so, the whole sort of lens of the film shifted as we were just beginning to film.
Gotcha.
But like most of my films, it often starts out as one thing and ends up as something completely different.
Sure, yeah. And Lauren and Joedan, what was your sort of role in following this journey with Matthew? How did it unfold for the two of you?
It was an amazing process, and it was basically, I've worked with Matt across a number of projects, and so I was working on this one as well, and also want to give a shout out. This film was shot in New York and edited in New York, and many of the filmmakers and
Can we have everyone stand up who worked on the film, by the way?
Please.
Yeah.
Miranda, Sammy,
Wonderful.
Fernanda. Yeah, I just want to say, films are made in community, and it just feels great to have our community here, and everyone who stood up in this room and some people who are not here poured their hearts and souls into this film, and it's translated across the screen. So it's like, I wish everyone could be standing up here tonight, but it wouldn't be possible without the brilliance and the humanity of everyone that touched it. I came on at the tail end of production and got to work with Matt and the team throughout the editing process.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so let's hear from you. What would you like to, any comments or questions? Just raise your hands and I'll call on you. Wow, you're okay. Huh?
How do you guys manage that, being so close and yet still trying to
So the question is about the access and how that's achieved, and in particular in relation to the first wave. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think access is everything for me in terms of making these types of films, and it's all about trust. It's all about building trust, gaining trust, renewing your vows constantly. Suleika did not want to be part of this film. When we first started filming, she's like, let's just focus on Jon. I've got a lot I'm dealing with, and she really didn't want to be the sick antidote to Jon's success. So it took a lot of conversations and sort of transparency in my intentions and our intentions to make her feel comfortable to be filmed at her most vulnerable. It was really unclear through most of the film, whether she'd survive. And so obviously that was a very delicate thing to walk, and something that I've had a fair amount of experience in the first wave and with other films. When she watched the film months later, she asked to watch it alone because, she didn't remember most of what you saw on here. She was so heavily medicated. There's huge gaps in her memory of what, so it was extremely, difficult for her to watch. I don't know if I answered your question at all, but.
Well, yeah. I mean that's part of that process. That gaining trust. That's access, right? Yeah. Anyone else have something they'd like to ask or comment? And I know it's a lot. It's just, when you see a film like this, it's really makes you go really internal, doesn't it? But yeah.
There's a moment when there are people saying, why did you win the Grammy? Did you feel that there was quite a lot of pushback to him as an artist, or do you think things were there was just a little moment of that?
Did you understand?
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing, we had, which a lot of people in this room can attest, there's like 1,500 hours of footage. So there's 11 different movies that could be made, and I know that that's like a documentary cliche. Everyone says that. But when you have that much material, we could make a lot of different films, and a thing that Jon talked about a lot is the pushback that he receives as to like being an artist and how people try to box him in, and that's a thing that we wanted to explore, and you see that very evidently in the Grammy criticism. So it's important for us to show in the edit of like, man, even in his moments of his highest highs, he's still like brought down in the sense of like not being understood, which I think is deeply relatable.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. Yep, very dark over there, but thank you. Sorry, what was the question?
Is there anyone from the Grammys in this audience? No? Okay, good. We tried for months to get official access and failed for months. And so that day, I had no idea whether I'd be able to get in, but I just snuck in as part of his entourage. And I was wearing like a t-shirt and jeans and definitely stuck out like a sore thumb. And it wasn't just like, oh, it would be cool to be in the Grammys. Like, the film is so up close and intimate and personal to sort of have to cut to like CBS footage during this like pinnacle moment in his career. That's why I fought so hard to be there. And obviously I couldn't shoot with my regular camera, so I snuck in an iPhone. And yeah, it was definitely a different experience. And for that, like when he actually won the big prize, I was like, he was sharing a table with like John Legend and his family. I had like their kids on my lap as I was like shooting with an iPhone, and yeah.
Yeah, Matt bears witness to everything. Like, that's his vibe. So if you look at any footage of Jon performing in that year, you can play like a little bit of Where's Waldo and spot the Matt, who was like always in the corner in the shot with the camera, because they get everything, all of the DPs.
Okay. Did I see a hand? I'm sorry, there, right there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the question is about, maybe we didn't see aspects of Jon, being under that tremendous pressure and how he responded. Yeah? Did I get that right? Yeah?
So Jon is a person, and I hope it translates in the film, who lives with deep faith and intention. And one of his big guiding principles is to like operate from an intention of joy. So even when he's in sad moments, it's like, I can't stay in this place. And I think especially with what was happening with Suleika, he had a deep intention of like, we have to keep the vibe at a certain level and that will heal her. So I think it's just a level of intentional living of like, he's so constantly present. And not with the camera, but with himself and the way that he chooses to live his life. And it's guided by something so much bigger that I think that I hope that answers your question, but he's real all the time. That's just how he operates.
But he like, as Lauren said, it's a practice for him. It's not just like that's who he is naturally and it just comes out all the time. Like when we started filming that scene with him at the river, like that's how he starts every year. We started filming on New Year's Eve 2021, and he spends a couple days alone, this time with a camera, but alone meditating and then sort of refilling his cup for the year. That the scene when he's talking about like, am I gonna crack? I mean, it's something that's always beneath the surface and that he's constantly working at. So yes, he often exudes a sort of sense of confidence and sort of jubilance often, but there's a lot of, hopefully you saw, layers in him.
Mm-hmm. And did you show him cuts along the way, or did you kind of wait until you felt you had it before you showed it to him, or how did that sort of ending work with him? And
yeah, we showed him a couple cuts along the way, just to get see what they thought, but They were very, he was, very excited about the film from day one. I think the biggest fight we ever got in was, he asked for a link to the film, and I was like, we're sort of in between cuts. Like, can you like send it to you later tonight? And he's like, and I never heard from him. And he called me later. He's like, I'm in France, and I just showed it to Francis Ford Coppola, Walter Murch, Ron Howard. And I was like, really? And so then I had this like feedback session with these like legendary filmmakers, which was hilarious.
Unexpected, yeah.
It also helps to work with artists because they trust the process of like, I don't know how many documentary filmmakers are in the audience, but like edits, it's a process to get to the final version of a film. And I think that, again, going back to trust, that they trusted that we would get there even as they like watch cuts, that they really just like let us follow the journey that the film was leading us on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a deep sense of trust in this film. Any last question? Okay, over here. Short and sweet, like it. All right, we'll take one more then. Oh, right here, yeah. What was your favorite part of the process?
Go down the line.
Oof, there were a lot of great moments. I think for me it was the shooting the Symphony, and that was quite a large production and an incredible sort of coming together of a lot of talented sort of collaborators that we work with. And it was also, one of my favorite moments, which was a total panic attack from a producing standpoint, was when the power went out in the middle of the Symphony, and we're all freaking out backstage, and but obviously Jon then turns it into this beautiful moment and shows off his ability to sort of improvise and channel things on the moment, and it of course then became a centerpiece of the film, at the end of the film as well. So that was probably my favorite moment.
My favorite part of the process is all of the people that I met in making this. Like everyone, again, like I said, put their heart in this, and I think they all shaped me and helped me grow as a person in the way that I see the world. I've learned from everyone on our team. So that was my favorite part of the process. My favorite part of the film is the pause and the moment of silence before he improvises the song for Suleika.
It's hard to I love every aspect of making films. I love shooting, I love cutting. And yeah, it was what an honor to be able to sit there and shoot 1,500 hours of, them together in this like incredibly intimate and sort of critical moment in their lives. And and we probably have 400 hours of just Jon playing the piano alone. So that's maybe the next film. But I don't know. I mean, I think it's also just fun to have two subjects who similarly believe that sort of magic exists behind every door. You just have to open it. And that's just a really like fun and exciting way to live life. And sort of as a team, both in shooting and cutting, sort of dancing with the improvisational nature of the way they both live their lives was both an extreme challenge and something that was really fun as well. But I think similarly to Lauren, like that moment, you know, Sam and I were in the edit room, and like that moment of the pause was not really working, in my opinion, before, and so we sort of like pulled out the handles and realized, like, remembered really that there was this like unbelievable 90-second moment, and I love when you don't have to use words to express emotions. And he writes a novella for us with his breathing, the way his hands move, one hand, left hand, right hand, his obviously the pause, and it was hard for him, to the other question, it was hard for him to convey the depths of what he was feeling about Suleika. But I feel like he did that all in that moment. And that's what, those discoveries in the edit room are one of the things I love about filmmaking, is just sort of, and that was sort of became a real like North Star for us for the rest of the edit, is trying to find those quiet moments that spoke louder than words or notes could. So.
And I have a favorite moment, and my favorite moment is having you here to share this film with us and to share your experiences. So thank you so much for being with us.